G'day guys, it's Dave here from New Zealand Outdoor Blades, and I hope you're having a fantastic day today. Please feel free to like, comment and subscribe. It helps out my channel a ton, but more importantly, I'm learning a lot and enjoying talking to people all over the world about my various hobbies, which include hunting, hunting knives, hunting rifles, cartridges and outdoor gear. Today I'd like to do an article on an excellent deer hunting caliber that's actually becoming slightly less common now in New Zealand, and that's a 270 Winchester. And here's the 270 here. A 270 Winchester, you might be aware, is actually comes from the parent case 3006. It's a 3006, and they get the 3006 and they neck it down to 277 caliber, which produces a 270. Personal of interest to me, because when I started hunting in Canterbury in the late 80s, the 270 was arguably the most popular hunting caliber at that time amongst the people that I knocked about with, because it was powerful, flat shooting, but without having to be a magnum. The 270 was also very popular when I moved up to the North Island and started hunting the Ruahinis. So back then, most people that I knew were using either a 270, a 308 or a 243. And for some reason, the guys that used 270s didn't like 308 and vice versa. I was more of a 308 guy. But I've got to admit the 270 is an excellent all-round cartridge. A little bit of history on this cartridge. So this was developed by Winchester in 1923 in the United States, and it was by far the flattest shooting caliber of its day at the time. So it really took off in that country in particular, noting that in the United States, of course, they were big fans of the 3006, so it was quite natural for them to adopt the 270. Particularly after World War II, the 270 really took off in the United States, partly because of advertising. There was a prominent gun writer called Mr. Jack O'Connor, highly respected and knowledgeable gun writer, and he owned a 270, and he wrote a lot of articles about how excellent it was, and that was enough to really significantly increase the sales of the 270, which goes to show just how much advertising will help your caliber. So after World War II, again, it really took off in the United States, and it started showing up in New Zealand in the 1950s and more so in the 60s. And like I said, by the late 80s, it was an extremely popular caliber. Why? Because it was slightly flatter shooting and better at long range than the 308, only just by a little bit. Here's your 308 here. One sort of disadvantage with the 270 is that it does have a longer case. I know in New Zealand people actually quite like the compact case size of a 308 or the 708. The 270's got a longer case and also quite a bit of muzzle blast, etc. What was really interesting is shortly after, or actually about 20 years after the 270 came out, Remington developed a competitor called the 280 Remington, which was a 3006 neck down to 7mm. Now, intuitively, I would have thought that that caliber would do better than the 270 because the 7mm has got so many different bullet types available for it. But by that stage, the 270 was well and truly entrenched in the United States, and the 280 Remington didn't even get a look in. There was no comparison. In this day and age, less people are buying 270 in New Zealand. Why is that? Well, potentially if you're interested in getting a long-range cartridge these days, a lot of guys, in my opinion, will jump straight to a 7mm Magnum or a 6.5 PRC or something like that. But why not buy a 270? I've just got a quick download of an example of the ballistics that are offered by this cartridge. So Federal make a trophy copper factory ammo, 130 grain, shooting at 3,060 feet per second with a ballistic coefficient of 459, and at 500 yards it's still delivering 1,300 foot-pound of energy. So if you want to buy a 270, that's going to do everything that you need, and indeed if you can shoot that far, it's going to be able to flatten a deer at 600 yards for you. So still an excellent caliber. Less people using it now than they used to. I would love to hear you talk about any experience or opinion on the 270. So if you got this far, thanks for watching and have a fantastic day. Cheers.